Tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime. One of the most dangerous, even deadly things your children encounter every day, what we call food.
Unfortunately, these industries profit from when we're sick. We're being poisoned.
You have a loaded gun pointed at your kids that you're paying for with your tax dollars.
We are funding addictive food to our society, and it's criminal.
These people are saying, I know this is making kids sick, but we're talking about profits here. That is absolutely disgusting. Forever, politicians have been screaming about a healthy economy. But when did anyone ever talk about being healthy, period? The U.S. spends the most on health care, yet has the worst outcomes among developed nations. What good is a healthy economy if we're all overweight, chronically ill, or God forbid, dead? There is one person who has been relentlessly talking about America's health, and now he's in a position to do something about it.
During COVID, we had the highest death rate of any country in the world. We had 16% of the COVID deaths. We only have 4.2% of the world's population. No country did as poorly as us. And you ask CDC, why is that? They say because we are the sickest people on earth. The average person who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases.
Earlier this month, Congress confirmed RFK Jr. as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services.
Moms from every state, many of whom have traveled to be here yesterday and today. Senators, this is one of the most powerful and transcendent movements I've ever seen. The nation is ready for change and recognizes that this is a unique inflection moment.
Over the past week, mainstream media has written extensively about RFK Jr.'s agenda. In reality, they've written about select parts of his agenda, the ones steeped in controversy, the ones that make for good clickbait or push a political belief. You already know what I say about a pancake having two sides. Well, let me add, those pancakes are ultra-processed, packed with sugar and poisoning our children. So let's talk about the parts of RFK Jr.'s agenda that every level-headed American can agree on. That the food we feed our families is slowly killing us. A third of American children are pre-diabetic. 50% are overweight or obese. 77% wouldn't even qualify for the Army, and not just because the uniform won't fit. This is the first generation of children who will die before their parents' age. That's why Merit TV has teamed up with American Values to make America healthy again. This movement needs you. America needs you. Our kids need you. A few months back, I joined RFK Jr. in Pennsylvania to help bring the Make America Healthy movement to life. What does it mean to make America healthy again, and what does this encompass? What has to happen?
When I was a kid, we were the healthiest country in the world. We had the most revered healthcare system. We had the greatest scientific agencies. NIH was the gold standard research agency in the world. So everybody was looking to the United States for gold standard scientific research. You've seen these pictures of the Presidential Council on Physical Fitness, which my uncle started, where these kids in high school, you know, they all look healthy, they all look like athletes, the athletes of today. But these were just average high school students. We had the longest lifespan of any country in the world, and we had the greatest healthcare system. Today, we have the worst healthcare, we have the most expensive, we pay 2 to 3 times what people pay in European countries. We've had an increase in chronic disease. And what do I mean by chronic disease? I mean basically 3 categories. One is neurological diseases like ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, tics, Tourette syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, autism. These are words that I didn't know as a kid. The other category is autoimmune disease, which is rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, Crohn's disease, diabetes. When I was a kid, the average pediatrician So one case of diabetes over a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 children who walk through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic. That's not normal. Other nations don't have anything like that.
If it continues on this trajectory, where are we going to be in 1 or 2 more generations?
We are sitting on the verge of a societally destabilizing health collapse in this country. When we have 30% of young adults having prediabetes, when 50% of young adults are overweight or obese, and it's 3% in Japan, we have something morally wrong happening. The math is clear. The largest industry in the United States is not AI, it's not tech, it's healthcare, and it's also the fastest growing, producing sicker, more depressed, more infertile Americans for every extra dollar we spend. There's something happening, not with the people in this room. I know everyone in this room wants to be healthy. Everyone in the room wants their kids to be healthy. But you're being told by a corrupt medical system that you want to be sick. That's a lie. The reason this is happening is because the pharmaceutical and healthcare industry, just as a statement of economic fact, is the largest funder of politicians in America. They're the largest funder of media in America. They're the largest funder of academic research in America. They are the largest funder of medical organizations, which set the standards of care. They are the largest funder of every single institution of trust that impacts our health.
I am joined by Calley Means, who you just saw there. He is a former food and pharmaceutical consultant, New York Times best-selling author and co-founder of Truemed. He's been working on this initiative. He is determined to building a healthier America for generations to come. Calley, welcome. Thank you for being here. You and I have been together before. We've talked about this before. They just showed us together up in Pennsylvania. We've been together in Florida. We've talked about this a number of times. And this is a serious crisis we're talking about for Americans in general and young people in particular. They're being poisoned. Is that an overstatement?
It's not an overstatement. I think we're all waking up to it. You know, the experts are saying that Bobby Kennedy is going to be dangerous for the healthcare system. The experts are overseeing the sickest country in modern history. As you said, it's pronounced how much it's happening in the United States. The childhood obesity rate in Japan is 3%. And here, as you said, 50% of teens are overweight or obese. Our kids, our bodies, our cells are crying out for help, and it's a big, big deal. As Robert Kennedy said, if another country did what's happening to our kids, if they performed that, it would be an act of war.
Absolutely it would, but you just said something. If we look at other countries like Japan, for example, where you see chronic disease in general or other specific diseases are in single digits. And here we're talking about certainly double digits in chronic diseases for children, and some are in the 40 and 50% range. How has this happened? And we've just sat around and nobody's done anything about it. This hasn't hit my radar until the last couple of years. And it really took a hockey stick effect where it just went up dramatically when we started adding things to foods that other countries have not added. Is that a fair correlation?
Absolutely. You just have to look at incentives. And I think the comparisons to other countries are so important. We live 6 years less than the Italians. And I don't think Americans are lazier than Italians, right?
Well,
There's
no.
something systemic happening here. And a stat that I think really sheds light on this is that we're 4% of the population in the world, in the United States. We produce 70% of worldwide pharmaceutical profits, and we're 60th of any country in life expectancy. So what's happened, Dr. Phil, is unfortunately these industries that just as a statement of economic fact profit from when we're sick, when American children are sick particularly, they've taken over our institutions of trust. That's what Bobby Kennedy has called out, and I think that's what's resonating with the American people.
Okay, when we're talking about these numbers, just for those of you here in the studio, is this surprising to you? It's not surprising to you. But we still buy this stuff, eat it and give it to our children, right? And the thing is, when you buy a cereal here, a sugary cereal or a sugary drink here, some of these breakfast cereals, you go to another country, they don't have all the things in them that they do here. They look the same, but they don't have the same things in them.
We're being poisoned. I know everyone here is trying to be healthy and trying to put their kids on a health trajectory. I believe the American people want to do that. We fundamentally have 10,000 chemicals in our food that aren't legal in any other country. We fundamentally, in the United States, our Nutrition Guidelines Committee is able to accept money from the food and pharma industry. 19 out of the 20 advisors who make the nutrition guidelines for our children have been paid by food or pharma companies. And today, sitting here today, the USDA says that added sugar is a healthy part of a 2-year-old's diet. When we have a metabolic health and obesity crisis, we are getting the wrong advice and we're getting the wrong incentives. SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Program for lower-income Americans, the 4th largest entitlement program in the country, 18% of that is going to soda and sugary drinks right now, and 70% is going to the ultra-processed food. We are funding and writing the check for poisonous, addictive food to our society, and it's criminal. A child today, 70% of their diet's coming from a box where these chemicals are added together to make the food addictive, and that's happened by design.
They're negotiating contracts for food at your kids' schools, for SNAP, for the food in your hospitals. They engineer that environment so you can't even escape their food, and then they manipulate consumer behavior. This system is rigged on every level against them in the ways that we're telling you right now.
Okay, now, that didn't sound real bad when you say it real fast, but let's just slow that sentence down a whole lot. You just said there are 10,000 chemicals going into America's food supply that are not approved in other countries.
This is deliberate. In 1990, 40% of the US food supply was produced by literal cigarette companies. Cigarette companies bought ultra-processed food companies in the 1980s when cigarette smoking was going down, and they worked to both rig the USDA and institutions of trust to approve these chemicals, and then have their tobacco scientists mix these chemicals together to create ultra-palatable food. As the regulations changed and as food became more addictive with these science experiments in ultra-processed food, our consumption of that is now 70% of our diet. A child today, 70% of their diet's coming from a box where these chemicals are added together to make the food addictive. And that's happened by design.
Okay, and what we're talking about here is there are pleasure centers in the brain. The nucleus accumbens in the brain, there are pleasure centers there that light up when you get certain sensations. And when these tobacco companies purchased these food companies, they started mixing these chemicals together until they lit up the pathways that light up when they were selling tobacco, that light up when you take heroin, that light up when you get certain drugs that give you a high. And these chemicals that are mixed into foods give you a certain sensation that you go, oh, wow, I need more of that. I want more of that. And those are these ultra-processed foods that have these chemicals in them, make these things very palatable that people want more of and more of and more of, and keep going back to them. And the problem is that what makes them taste so good, so palatable to eat, are also the things that make them so unhealthy.
That's right. The purpose is to make food cheap and addictive, which is what food companies did. But these chemicals also are having unknown consequences on our microbiome and our cells. This is barely hyperbolic. I actually mean this. We could fire every single nutrition advisor in the government, replace every single almost health and nutrition study with one simple guideline. We need to avoid ultra-processed food. You can't overeat broccoli or steak. Our body is built with these innate satiety signals. You don't see obese giraffes or lions in the wild. Every animal except humans actually knows how to regulate what they eat. You don't see chronic rates of diabetes in the wild. It's only humans. It's this ultra-processed food that has hijacked our cells. But importantly, Dr. Phil, it's a free country. The problem is this food's being recommended and subsidized by our government. That's the big problem. And that's what Bobby Kennedy and I think bipartisan leaders can change very quickly.
Yeah, listen, this has nothing to do with politics.
No.
It has nothing to do with politics. Every child has the right to a healthy future. Every child has a right to not have a chronic disease and not be programmed for a chronic disease. Now, coming up, Calley says there's nothing more profitable than a sick kid. Now, think about that. He says there's nothing more profitable than a sick kid. We're going to talk about how we need to fight against that, why it's true, why we need to fight against that as a country. Forget about politics. Forget about what you think you know about who's pushing what. Follow the money. We're going to do that. And later, you know her as one of America's toughest health coaches. Jillian Michaels is going to join us. You don't want to miss that. We'll be right back. Why would people that we have put in jobs to protect, to regulate, to do the things that would make Americans healthy, have longer lives, et cetera, what's the incentive?
95% of the folks that make our nutrition guidelines are directly paid for by food companies. That means the USDA recommends added sugar for 2-year-olds. They say up to 10% of a 2-year-old's diet should be added sugar.
You're talking about sugar, obviously. That's the white devil, right? All right, what else are you talking about?
I call it the unholy trinity of ingredients in ultra-processed food. You've got added sugar, you've got seed oils, you've got highly processed grains. All 3 ingredients are essentially invented just 100 years ago and were not evolutionarily made to handle.
Well, I'm here with my friend Calley Means, a former big food and pharma consultant. Means he's been on the inside of the tent. He knows what they do. He knows how they do it. And Calley, some experts have compared sugar to being more addictive than cocaine. And we are pumping our children full of it. So what are the incentives? Why would people that we have put in jobs to protect, to regulate, to do the things that would make Americans healthy, have longer lives, et cetera, what's the incentive?
The simple, sad fact is that the healthcare industry is the largest and fastest growing industry in the United States. It's not AI, it's not tech. Healthcare is the bedrock of the American economy. And the unfortunate reality, just not conspiratorial, just looking at the basic incentives, is that every single lever that touches our health, they profit and make more money when an American is sicker for a longer period of time. Chronic disease, which is now 95% of medical costs, is the greatest profit-maximizing invention in human history because you suffer, but you don't get cured. You just suffer, but you don't die, right? So think about a child right now. 40% of them, of teens, are on at least one chronic disease medication. Statin rates, SSRIs, antidepressants, metformin for prediabetes, they've doubled in just the past 5 to 7 years, each of those among teens. You're a lifetime customer once you can get a kid on one of those medications and keep racking up the comorbidities. That's the reality.
Well, we're talking about cancer, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune conditions, kidney disease, upper respiratory illness, autism, ADHD, depression. These are at an all-time high for American children this year.
I'm gonna repeat that, and let's all let that sink in one more time. Every single disease he just mentioned is at an all-time high this year, particularly among kids. Every single one. It's all going up all at once. Every single condition you just mentioned, my sister, my co-author, my collaborator at the Stanford Medical School, they're all separate categories. They're all separate doctors. There's 42 medical specialties, as you know, 82 subspecialties. And each one you mentioned is treated with a different doctor, a different treatment plan that don't speak to each other. The reality, what Robert Kennedy, what we're talking about in a bipartisan way, is we can reform the standard of care of medicine because all those conditions are tied together by metabolic factors, particularly food.
Right. Every one of them has medication that they give to treat that. And these pharmaceutical companies, the food industry, these are the biggest lobbyists. They spend more money, and we're talking like $750 million for some of these lobbyists that are in there pushing. When I said follow the money, they're in there paying this money and talking to these senators, supporting them, supporting these representatives, and pushing these things through. Now, when we're talking about these additives here that are going into these foods, how are they getting approved?
You can't make this up, Dr. Phil.
That is offensive. That is absolutely disgusting.
I've yet to meet an American who wants their kids to be sick, but we're committing almost genocide on our kids with what's happening with metabolic conditions.
When we're talking about these additives here that are going into these foods, how are they getting approved?
You can't make this up, Dr. Phil. In the United States right now, we have self-policing of food ingredients. It's actually put the ingredient in, no questions asked, and we'll take it out later if it proves to be harmful. It's called the GRAS standards. This is a evil misinterpretation of laws from the 1950s. No law says that food companies could do this. It's been misinterpreted, and now those 10,000 ingredients I mentioned are self-policed in. You can add an ingredient into U.S. food as a U.S. food company without proving that it's not harmful. Every other country in the world has the opposite. You have to prove that it's an okay ingredient before adding it in. That's why in the United States, we talked a lot about food coloring. Food coloring is crude oil. That's what Red 40 is, all these food. It's totally unnecessary, and it's absolutely tied to neurological issues, ADHD. Those still are allowed in our foods. So we have self-policing, which is something Bobby Kennedy's talked a lot about. One other thing I'll just tell you, Dr. Phil, the lobbyists are reaching out to me. They're talking to Bobby. They're saying behind closed doors, you know, we agree with you, kids are getting too sick, but this is gonna really hurt the economy if we change the medical system. They're literally saying that it's gonna hurt the economy to stand up for kids.
Yeah, that is offensive. I mean, it's absolutely offensive that these people are saying, I know this is making kids sick, but we're talking about profits here. We're talking about profits here. And that is absolutely disgusting. You've talked about the fact that they've established two big lies in healthcare. One is that Americans are lazy and want to be sick, and the reasons that they're getting sick are complicated and hard to change. And those are lies.
Does anyone here want to be sick or want your kids to be sick?
I mean, clearly.
I've yet to meet an American who wants their kids to be sick, but we're committing almost genocide on our kids with what's happening with metabolic conditions. And the medical system is gaslighting us by saying it's your fault. And we need to obviously make improvements in our own life, but support this important bipartisan spiritual thing that's happening in the country. I think we can all feel this Make America Healthy Again. We can do this. We have the ability, Dr. Phil, in this country to stop poisoning our kids. We have that ability, and we can do this very quickly.
And this can happen right now.
So quickly.
And it can have results in this generation. This isn't something that 50 years from now you can say, boy, we're glad we did that. This can have an effect right now.
You can change your metabolic health so quickly. You can change your weight, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, you know, the core biomarkers that are related to 9 of the 10 top killers that we mentioned, diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver disease, all the related metabolic conditions. We can have a national effort. It should have happened during COVID, which was a warning sign. You know, we died 16% of overall COVID deaths, 4% of the population. COVID was a warning sign, so our immune systems are very weak in the United States. But with Bobby Kennedy, President Trump, a bipartisan coalition, we can actually harden up a little bit, talk about how we can make these changes quickly. And we've got a plan to do it.
You know, when you do independent studies that aren't funded by, bought out by, influenced by funding from someone that has a stake in the outcome, independent studies conclude clearly that ultra-processed foods harm children. This is science. If we stop feeding this to our children will get healthier, and they will do it quickly. It will begin to change. Now, coming up, fitness expert Jillian Michaels is going to join the conversation. She got a standing ovation after testifying to Congress, calling our food epidemic an extinction-level event. We'll hear what she has to say next.
The American people need help. Please be the change. Thank you.
We've been discussing the chronic disease epidemic that is affecting our children in the U.S. Now, fitness expert, nutritionist, and health advocate Jillian Michaels says having children changed her life, and she has devoted her expertise and her time to fighting for the health of all children in America.
I have even watched parents forced to suffer the unthinkable loss of their adult children. There are not words to express the sadness I have felt and the fury, knowing that they were literally sacrificed at the altar of unchecked corporate greed. Most Americans are simply too financially strained, psychologically drained, and physically addicted to break free without a systemic intervention. Attempting to combat the status quo and the powers that be is beyond swimming upstream. It is like trying to push a rampaging river that's infested with piranhas. After years of trying to turn the tide, I submit that the powers that be are simply too powerful for us to take on alone. I implore the people here that shape the policy to take a stand. The buck must stop with you, because if this current trend is allowed to persist, the stakes will be untenable. We are in the middle of an extinction level event. The American people need help. They need heroes. And people of Washington, your constituents chose you to be their champion. Please be the change. Thank you.
Jillian.
Hi, Dr. Phil.
How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Hi, Calley.
Hey, Jillian.
Jillian, it hadn't been long since we've talked about some of this stuff, and it just doesn't go away. We've got to make changes here, and you're very serious about all of this. And I want to start out talking about how big farming is involved in children's chronic illness epidemic. What's going on here?
Honestly, Dr. Phil, this is where it all begins. So Calley mentioned subsidies, and I would say Big Ag has received about $500 billion in subsidies from 95 to 2022. So we're paying for this. And what they're doing, what the lobbyists are doing, is gaming the policies. They fund the research, right? They shape the policy. So they took something from back in 1933 and they shaped it into what's today called the Farm Bill. And that means that that $500 billion goes to grow genetically engineered monoculture crops soaked in their chemicals, which are historically linked, by the way, to chemical warfare like Agent Orange. You can't make this stuff up. And then they're tasked, the USDA is tasked with selling this surplus of calories through something called the Agricultural Marketing Service, right? And then they shape the food guidelines through the food pyramid, and they sell these cheap calories to the big food manufacturers who tinker with it some more. And they have a team of multidisciplinary scientists to tackle this, from behavioral psychologists to chemists to neuroscientists. And ultimately what's happening is you have a loaded gun pointed at your kids that you're paying for with your tax dollars, and it's all designed to encourage addiction and overconsumption. It's completely void of nutrients and completely filled with chemicals.
This is something that you don't hear about, you don't read about, people don't talk about this. This just happens, and it winds up in front of our kids. And Jillian, you're mostly known for your expertise in fitness, but now you're advocating for children's health and doing it at a federal level. What got your focus turned towards this issue? Why does this mean so much to you?
To be totally honest, Dr. Phil, this is something that people have been advocating for decades. It goes back to Marion Nestle, Maria Rodale, Michael Pollan. People have been trying to create change, but it's been falling on deaf ears, so much so that everyone kind of gave up and started asking for the bare minimum of step goals and like, hey, could you maybe just give up sodas? Until Calley, and I'm not just saying this. And I remember sitting with him and I was almost in tears one day. And he's like, don't give up hope. I have a plan. I have a plan. And I was like, okay, Cal, sure you do. And he does have a plan. And he has essentially weaponized health advocates like myself so that we can get our voices heard. We can get on platforms like yours. And he really is the mastermind behind this. I have to give him the credit. He's brilliant, fabulous human. And so is his sister.
Calley, we are talking major money here from big power players with industry and lobbyists. What's it going to take to change the incentives?
This is what I hear consistently when I meet with members of Congress and senators behind closed doors. This big edifice of the pharma industrial complex and the food industrial complex, they're paper tigers, and they can be defeated if we join our voices together. That's what they're scared of. The reason we haven't been hearing about it is because the corporate media is paid for by pharma. They're the #1 donator, giver of money to mainstream news, 50% of TV news.
Right.
The key change is independent voices like you, like Jillian, who has one of the best and most popular podcasts in the country. And what was being talked about on the podcast where I listened to Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, all the way down, they're talking about this issue because everyone here is concerned about their child's health. The biggest books in the country, the biggest podcasts in the country, where when people are left on devices, they're trying to figure out how to be healthier and how to get their kids healthier. So this shift to independent media, independent voices, what you've been leading, is a really societally, historically important moment, and that's what changed in this election and really empowered leaders, and it's going to continue to empower leaders.
See, I have a strong belief that you know what Merit TV is all about. We're about talking to the heartland. We're about talking to the parents, the people, the grandparents that have children and grandchildren that are saying, look, I'm not going to just passively put up with this anymore. Give me the facts and I'll start making noise. And that's what we're wanting to do, is give people the facts. If they know that their tax dollars are paying for this to happen, for these things to get approved, for this stuff to just be sliding by, they can fire the people that are doing this. And that's what you need to do. You need to say, look, this was a privilege for you to be in these positions, and if you're going to abuse them, we're going to kick your ass to the curb. Well, that's what's going to happen.
That's right. The courage is contagious. That incredible Senate testimony that you saw, it was Senator Ron Johnson, and he was inspired by Bobby Kennedy and the independent media, and he invited people like Jillian to come in there and eviscerate the Senate itself and the institutions that fund the Senate. And that was a really brave move on his part, and that's spreading. We just have to keep optimistic, have to keep this up.
And it's not all one thing. Jillian, you believe in exercise, you believe in people taking control of their own life. That's still very important, correct?
Dr. Phil, taking agency is a piece of it, yes. Advocacy and activism is another piece. But the reality is that these guys, they fund the research, they shape the policy, they control the narrative, they engineer the environment, they're negotiating contracts for food at your kids' schools, for SNAP, for the food in your hospitals. They engineer that environment so you can't even escape their food, and then they manipulate consumer behavior. So this is something that we're going to have to fight on a myriad of fronts. And yes, agency is absolutely a part of it. But 74% of Americans are overweight and obese, and it is not because they're lazy or stupid. It's because this system is rigged on every level against them in the ways that we're telling you right now.
Yeah, and if the system's rigged, then you got to fight back.
Yes, sir.
All right. Coming up, we're going to talk to a doctor who says the first line of defense in fighting disease should be food, not medical treatments, medication and pills. She's going to join us and tell us what we eat could reverse disease. That's next. We'll be right back. Doctor, you say the standard American diet isn't just scientifically wrong, it's absolutely dangerous, correct? Well, we're joined by Dr. Cate Shanahan. She lists the late Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, Aaron Judge, as some of her superstar patients. To these athletes, their body and what they put in it is of the utmost importance, which it should be to all of us. We need to put as much focus on what we're feeding America's children as these athletes do with their body. Dr. Shanahan is here to share those secrets. Doctor, you say the standard American diet isn't just scientifically wrong, it's absolutely dangerous, correct?
Yes, it is absolutely morally wrong as well. And I say this not lightly. I say this because American doctors were fed misinformation about fats way back in the 1940s. And ever since then, the fats that we've been eating have been vegetable seed oils, which are industrial products that never existed before the industrial era. And today, they make up 30% of your calories if you're eating like the average American. And that was true for the athletes.
Define seed oils.
That's a very important question because there really is no correct term to describe these. So I had to create a term called the Hateful Eight. There's 3 C's: corn, canola, cottonseed, 3 S's: soy, sunflower, safflower. And those are the ones that everybody should memorize because they're in 90% of the foods in our grocery stores.
So if people go home and they've got a big thing there of canola oil, bad idea.
Terrible idea. You don't want to use it for anything. Canola oil originally was used as machine oil in Canada during World War II. That is why it was invented, because in World War II, they needed a lot of machine oil, so they grew some. And then at the end of the war, they said, gee whiz, what do we do with all these fields? These farmers were already growing this stuff. Oh, I know, let's just feed it to people.
All right, so canola oil they were using to make a tank run, and now we're eating it. That's what you're telling us.
Yes, that is exactly right. It sounds bizarre, but what's even more bizarre is that American cardiologists believe canola oil is the solution to heart disease. They believe that soy oil is healthier than butter. Now, we've all heard that butter causes heart attacks, but this is part of that lie that we have been sold. Doctors, too. We've all been fed the same lie about fats. And that was when our health started to go off the rails, because in the 1940s was when the first dribbles of these oils started replacing the healthy fats that we'd been eating. When I say we, I mean Americans, humans, had been eating forever.
So what do you cook with when you need oil?
Well, I have my favorite 5: olive oil, coconut, peanut oil, and sesame oil, in addition to butter. Butter is hands down my favorite.
Well, who doesn't like butter? That's an easy switch there, right? But most people don't know this. This is a brainwash thing that people have been fed this misinformation.
It's very deliberate brainwashing. You look at the donors to the American Heart Association, which set these standards. They took money decades ago from Crisco, you know, the first kind of seed oil. They're taking money, millions and millions of dollars from ultra-processed food makers. There's not a big lobbying group for broccoli or grass-fed beef or butter, right? It's all marketing donations and contributions from processed food companies.
We'll be right back. Over the next few months, we'll talk a lot more about making America healthy again. First step, educate ourselves about the crisis we all face, and more importantly, the solutions. Next comes empowerment. I'm asking every one of you to raise your hand and join Merit TV and American Values in making America healthy again. This is for everyone. Right, left, black, white, city, country, rich, poor. Seriously, we were in D.C. for the RFK Jr. hearings and saw a tidal wave of support to make America healthy again. These were people from all walks of life. They didn't agree on everything on RFK Jr.'s agenda. That's fine. But listen to what they did agree on.
We've got millions and millions of chronically ill people in this country, and nobody has been looking out for them.
We're in dire straits, health-wise.
And most people don't understand the chemicals that they're eating every day. They're working so hard for their kids to be healthy, but they're feeding them junk.
Health comes first. Without health, we can't do anything else.
I don't think that making America healthy should be political. It's just the right thing to do.
I just want health and wellness for our children, and we need truth and transparency in our systems. We can't pursue those things if we're fettered by corporate restraints and unelected bureaucrats that have different interests, different agendas.
Having the tools and the resources available to you to make the decisions so that you can live a healthy life is what I think this country has been lacking.
The only thing that is important is information. That's the only thing being advocated for, so you can make an informed decision.
We are ready to just kind of move America down the highway of a healthier America for everyone.
Who's in? Let's come together and make America healthy again. This topic is so important. Well, we just need to continue tomorrow night. And don't forget to check out the Dr. Phil podcast with the board czar, Tom Homan. Find out about this Presidential Rank Award recipient, how he's going to help implement President Trump's vision of securing the border. Download, subscribe, follow, and listen to the Dr. Phil podcast for free on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or on your favorite podcast app or device. We'll see you next time.